What's going on, Dolphins fans? It is your boy Dillon, and there's a couple things to talk about today. There was a lot of expectation that maybe Melvin Ingram would have gotten signed today. That hasn't happened yet, so we'll have to wait and see. But there is some other news and stuff that I want to talk about. Just real quick, just a little bit tiny news. It's not really relevant till next year, but they have put out the salary cap for all the teams for next year, and it's going to raise by about 30 million to 208 million. So just wanted to throw that in there real quick. But both Tua and Flores talked to the media today, and so everybody's buzzing about that. And then, you know, just a little bit about OTAs, because there's some important stuff there as well. Let's see. The really important part that I want to mention about that is there are some players that were not spotted at voluntary OTAs because they have just started. So looks like the list of players that were not there according to the media: Xavier Howard, Emmanuel Ogbah, Jerome Baker, Will Fuller, not spotted. Let's see. Benardrick McKinney and DJ Fluker as well. So, you know, it's voluntary, so it doesn't really, you know, it's not that big a deal. But you never know, you know, because you never know. You never know what that means, right? On its face, it doesn't mean anything. But then on the other hand, you have Xavier Howard, who wants a new contract. You have, you know, Emmanuel Ogbah, and they did just bring in Melvin Ingram. So, you know, I guess if they were to lose Ogbah, then, you know, whatever, that would be a pretty big deal. Anyway, so that's really it from OTAs. I mean, there's not really a lot coming out because the media can't really be there. Yeah, so anyway, that's really that. I want to get to now the main topic of this video, because like I said, Tua got to talk to the media, and so, you know, everybody expects that Tua is going to take a massive jump in year 2, and we all hope that. We really do, right? I hope that. Dolphins fan base hopes that. The Dolphins organization hopes that. And of course, you know, look, I'm just going to say this right off the bat. People are talking it up, and everybody, you know, after his interview today, it seems pretty clear across all the media that I've looked at that everybody's like, oh, it's Tua 2.0, and he's so much smarter, so much more confident, and he's going to soar this year. Bro, it's OTAs, man. They just barely started. It's an important piece of the process, but it doesn't really fucking mean anything. You don't, and look, he can say as much as he wants, and he can, you know, sound as confident as he wants in a Zoom meeting on the first day of OTAs, but we have to wait and see what happens when he actually gets into live action and this team's actually coming together on the field, and whether or not they can actually take the steps there also. And so, you know, this article I'm about to read through, he admits, right? Tua admit that he wasn't comfortable in last year's playbook because he hadn't gotten through it all yet, right? Not to mention he was a rookie, etc., etc. But they just changed the playbook on him. So, you know, and there were reports last year, which this is now confirming from his own mouth, you know, not specifically the percentage of the playbook that he knew, but there were reports last year that when he entered the game as the starter, right, in week 7 or 8 or whatever it was, that he only knew approximately, you know, 40% of the playbook. Well, okay, but now he has an entirely new playbook. Yes, okay, he gets an off season to, you know, work with it and work with his team and so on and so forth, and so that's going to help. But is it, you know, how far is he going to be along when the season starts? How much of it is he going to know then, right? So we have to wait and see. My point is that if he only knew 40% of the playbook when he became the starter last year, theoretically he knew a significant portion more of it by the end of the year. But it's entirely different now. So it's not like he's picking up where he left off from last year's playbook. He's learning an entirely new playbook. So anyway, there's that. Let me get through this article. Dolphins Tua Tagovailoa, I wasn't comfortable my rookie year. Miami Dolphins star Tua Tagovailoa acknowledged he didn't play up to his own expectations as a rookie in 2020. Tagovailoa told reporters Wednesday he generally wasn't comfortable throughout his first year, which impacted his performance. Obviously. Anyway, and then there's this tweet that they inserted in here from Omar Kelly. Getting to the line of scrimmage, getting order of operations down, my cadence, pre-snap reads, post-snap reads. I wasn't comfortable my rookie year. I'm working on a lot of things in year 2 to be better. Obviously, that's one reason why you redshirt players. Because they don't know that shit yet. Especially like quarterbacks, bro. Like you... It blows my fucking mind how stupid people are. Like, no fucking shit. Who really expected him to understand and know all this immediately going in the game during his rookie season? Of course he wasn't going to know all these things. Of course he wasn't going to be comfortable with this. Anyway, I've been saying this since then. It's really no shock. It's no surprise. It's just confirmation. The question is, the big question is he really going to take the sizable step forward and really understand things better this year? Again, it's just another hurdle though in his way to have an all new playbook, to now have 2 offensive coordinators instead of 1, and then be different than last year, to have, you know, a very different team than he had last year, right? So a lot of those things go into it. But on the other hand, he gets an off season to work with these guys, etc., etc. So we need to wait and see how it plays out. Middle of August, August 14th is our first preseason game. So we're not too far away from some kind of live action. Let's see. The 23-year-old finished with 1,814 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Although he had, from my calculations, 16 would-be turnovers. If you look at Pro Football Focus, they said would be 13 turnovers. So take that for what you will. Obviously, most people hate it when I point that out because it's a piece of the puzzle. It's a part of the equation that people just like to ignore because it doesn't fit their own narrative. But, you know, whatever. We'll see if he can overcome that. While those numbers don't jump off the page, 2 major factors were working against Tagovailoa. The dislocated hip that ended his final season at Alabama limited his preseason preparations. The COVID-19 pandemic, meanwhile, forced a lot of offseason activities to be done remotely or with as little in-person contact as possible. And of course, those things obviously did play a part into it, but it wasn't just that, right? Obviously, then you add in he was a rookie, blah, 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 blah. That Tagovailoa played as much as he did was probably a bit of a surprise, since some thought he might be effectively redshirted due to the hip injury. No. Look, some people might have believed that, but as I said, look, and I told you before the beginning of last year, I don't know that he's going to start, and I didn't think he was going to start, right? I thought that it was more likely that Fitzpatrick started, and he did. But I told you guys, at some point he's going to go in, because they want their shiny new toy on the field. They literally just tanked the previous year, the 2019 season, so they could go get this guy, and Stephen Ross is an idiot and doesn't know how to do anything properly when it comes to football operations. And so he insisted on fucking getting him in the game. Now, of course, that part I can't confirm because there have been no, direct quotes, saying that. And they've sold us a bunch of bullshit to the contrary. And the reason why it's bullshit is because after the 49ers game, Flores was like, why would I put him in, in garbage time to just hand the ball off? That was obviously a lie because he did it the very next week against the Jets. He also said around that time that, why would I put him in? I don't want to rush him along, rather, because he's like my kid and I wouldn't want to get him hurt, which he did sustain 2 injuries, a lower leg injury and a hand injury to his throwing hand. So, there is that as well. But that was obviously a lie because then a couple weeks later, he literally made him the starter. So, anybody who thought that Tua was going to redshirt, I wanted him to redshirt. I was advocating for that. I said from the beginning, do not put him in the game. He's not ready for it. He's not going to be comfortable. He's going to make rookie mistakes, and he could possibly get injured, which he did twice. So, proved me right on all accounts, and this is just confirmation that he wasn't ready. Anyway, and then real quick, another side note. Everybody's like, oh, you know, he grew a beard and his arms are bigger, so that just automatically translates to him having a better year. Okay, dude, I guess, man, but we have to wait and see what happens when he actually gets onto the fucking field and they're actually playing games. Let's see, the 6-foot signal caller said he's feeling much better physically compared to this time last year. Well, that's good. Let's see, this is a quick quote from him. Let's see, I think my hip feels 10 times better than it did last year. Okay, that's good. He's still an injury-prone quarterback, and he still has major concerns over his lower legs, right? So we'll see, man. We'll see if he can stay healthy this year. But that's the thing, again, and it's not that I don't like the kid or his potential or his skills or anything like that. I just don't like his injury history and his track record there, and that's why I wouldn't have took him. ESPN's Chris Mortensen reported in January the Dolphins were a possible landing spot for Watson, who's grown unhappy with the Texans. Tagovailoa would then go to Houston in any swap. The trade buzz around Watson is generally quieted after subject to 22 lawsuits. Let's see, but whatever, blah, blah, blah. None of that really matters in this conversation. It would obviously matter if they did the trade and then, you know, whatever. Anyway, so, yeah, there was something too that Flores said that I wanted to mention as well. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find it. But anyway, look, man, I mean, here's what I got to say. I'm going to be doing reports and, you know, making videos on, you know, from now until, you know, the start of the preseason, et cetera, and we're going to be talking about some of this stuff. But I got to be honest with you, you know, and the other Dolphins YouTubers are going to be doing more, you know, in-depth stuff with this. But I got to be honest with you, I don't give two flying fucks about OTAs or training camp or any of that bullshit. I don't care about the hype. I don't care about the fucking talk up. I don't care about any of that bullshit. Too many times have I seen people being like, oh, this player's doing great and this player's doing that, and then fucking injury or they just fail, right? So I don't give a fuck. Look, again, it's an important part of the process, obviously, and having it is better than not having it, right? The off-season program. But it doesn't fucking mean anything. It does not mean shit. It doesn't mean fucking shit, right? In the overall picture, it is such a small factor in the grand scheme of things that it doesn't fucking mean shit. Okay, so, you know, the hype that they have right now in training camp and OTAs does not mean that it's going to translate to games. We hope so, but we have to wait and see. All right, that's how I feel about that. And really, that's about it. So, you know, unless there are any other major updates, you know, roster moves, any other big news or anything like that, signings, you know, it's kind of it for right now. And, you know, we'll see. Things are supposed to progress. I mean, they are eventually going to let fans into training camp and stuff like that. So there will theoretically be more news. But again, I mean, you're not going to really see me, you know, making videos about all this fucking hype because, you know, as wonderful as it may be, and, you know, it really doesn't fucking matter or mean really jack shit of anything. What I care about, the next event that I care most about is preseason game number 1, because that's when you actually are going to start getting to see these guys in action and how they're developing and how things are shaping up with the team. It's going to tell you a lot about, you know, Tua's development. It's going to tell you a lot about, you know, the offensive line's development and who they're starting to think of as slating in those starting roles, right? So there is going to be information that we are going to be able to gather and glean from that. However, it doesn't fucking mean anything until the first preseason game. And so that's what I want to see. That's when it starts to mean something, right? Is when is when they start putting all the offseason shit together and get into the preseason. Obviously, then the most important thing is the actual season when it really counts and it goes towards your record, but that's when we'll start to get a first glimpse. All right, with that, I'm gonna get out of here. Hope you guys appreciate my perspectives. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartero. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.